What's going on, guys? So today we're talking about a knife from Germany. This is a Midgards Messer Sleipnir, Sleipnir. I think it's something mythical, which totally makes sense, but I don't know how to, correctly pronounce it. So, however you think it's pronounced, say that in your head. That's right. So it's the Midgards Messer, what you said. So. Anyway, I've done a couple reviews or videos on Midgards Messer knives before. They're all tanks. They are beastly knives. They're amazing. They're usually limited run. This one only is a run of 200, all right, unfortunately. Because they're limited edition, unfortunately not a lot of people get to try them out. But they are super, super cool. They become collectible inherently because there's such a limited amount of them. But they're all just like, they are mini works of art. All right, this one's no exception. So this one here, let me open it up. Now you can see you can open it up with one hand if you wanted to. There's a slot that's cut out on both sides, so you can use your middle finger and thumb to just initiate that and open it one-handed. There's a finger hole that goes through the middle. I think overall this has a Gerber Remix feel, like if Gerber Remix was Hulk before he turned into Hulk. There's no real comparison as far as, durability, performance, even blade steel. This one is rocking a CPM D2, which is just ridiculously sharp. Comes to a ridiculous little point here as well. But it's super unique looking. You know what I mean? Other than, like I said, the remix type vibe you get with the finger ring, which by the way, my finger is a little bit too fat to go all the way through. I'm sure if we went all the way through, it'd be super comfortable. Using the front half of my finger like this, it's pretty comfortable. But most of my cutting, I actually use this little notch. My thumb naturally rests into this notch, and it's actually very ergonomic for me. But you don't have to use the finger hole. Of course, you can just use the jimping on the back and the jimping on the front, which is both aggressive jimping and actually does work. It locks in very nicely. This is super ergonomic, whereas this is just pretty ergonomic. So, it just depends on how you want to carry it or use it. Of course, there's a finger twirl there, and your other two fingers land nicely on this little rest here, all right? So, I mean, this was not an accidental design. There's a lot of thought that went into designing this, even though it looks completely funky and different and strange and futuristic and maybe like mechanical. It is very practical, all right? So the blade here is 3.15 inches, again, of CPM D2 steel, all right, which is awesome. It is quite chunky at 8 ounces overall, all right? You can see how thick this guy is. It's pretty crazy. And in the open position, it is 7.6 inches long, all right? The lockup is perfect, as you would imagine, this huge frame lock here. All right, there's a lock bar insert in here as well. There is a little lanyard hole that is integrated into the spacer material. Okay, so if you didn't want to put a lanyard on here, being bigger, chunkier, that kind of theme, I guess, with overbuilt style knives, a lot of guys like to have a big old fat titanium lanyard ring and like a big old cord for it. I could totally see that going with this particular knife, but that's not my bag, so just in using it and testing it, I did not have a lanyard at all. I do like the texturing on the handle. It is very subtle. All right, so even though you see a lot of that grid pattern, it's kind of shallow. Let me see if I can give you a close-up shot of that. It looks like it might be super deep. It's a little deceiving because it's not super deep. You can see the cutouts on the side there. So it actually adds a little bit of grip, but not anything crazy. So, yeah, I mean, this thing is pretty gnarly. Definitely something completely different. You see the blade has this piece here that wraps around this ring. It rotates around the ring as you're opening it, which is kind of interesting. It acts as your blade stop. Okay, so instead of having a pin that goes into a little notch, we actually have this large piece here that goes into this notch. Works perfectly though. You can see this one is serialized number 84. We have the Midgards Messer logo on the back there. Pocket clip on here is also titanium, as is the backspacer. All right, very unique pocket clip. I can tell you that I did carry this in the pocket. A lot of it sticks up, at least for my pocket. I don't know if that looks like a knife to some people. There's a lot of that kind of sticking up out of the pocket like that. Now, even though I carried it in the pocket, this particular one came with a 3D printed belt buckle. All right, look at this thing. Now, I don't wear belt buckles like this. I actually don't wear belt buckles. I have worn belt buckles before. Unfortunately, the belt that I have that goes with buckles is too small for me. So I use a different style belt. I actually have a couple belts right now. But long story short, I did not test this out. However, you can see there's multiple magnets here, as well as in this post, there's multiple magnets. So this entire thing rests nicely in this piece here, okay? And it is not going to accidentally fall out, all right? So if you actually wanted to rock this on, you know, your pants as a belt buckle, it doesn't really look like a knife. So, you know, it's not like it's obvious you have a big old knife sitting on the front of your pants there. It is an interesting concept. It's really cool. So we have the slot and then the post here, you know, as the actual buckle. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I was not able to personally test it. But if that's something you're into, that's certainly an option for this knife. So yeah, I mean, it is just, it's a beast. It's total beast mode. It's definitely overkill. But even though it looks a little bit crazy and out of this world in its design, once you have a good grip on it like this, you just have a nice flat edge. That's it. So just like any other knife, you know, disregard all of that and just look at, there's your cutting edge. Do you know what I'm saying? Fantastic for utility work. It'd be great if you're like a carpenter or something. Just have a perfectly flat edge with a nice point on the top. Ripped open a lot of boxes with this knife when I first got it. I cut, I want to say, a little bit of paracord with this as well. But it performed great. I mean, it's nice and sharp. Even though it's a massively thick blade here, it tapers down. All right, it is flat ground here, and it comes to a nice sharp edge. Just something different, and not to say you can't EDC this every single day, but this is definitely more of a collectible, in my opinion. It is completely overbuilt. It can definitely take a lot of abuse. The CPM D2 is awesome. Yeah, I mean, this thing is just, it's just cool. That's it. It's just super, super cool. It's something that's definitely different. And unfortunately, in this case, very limited. So like I said, not a lot of people are going to be able to get one in their hands. Even though you can get these directly from Midgards Messer's website out in Germany, I want to say there was a retailer, like maybe it's White Mountain Knives, I forget what it was, but they did actually carry these. They're out of stock now because they're so limited. But you have to look around. Sometimes these knives that are overseas that seem like they're not obtainable in the States, there are some dealers that do carry them. You just have to look outside your normal realm of things. Like, I forget what the dealer was, but it's something I don't normally go to. I have like my top 3 or 4 dealers that I'll look for stuff first. But if you really kind of stretch out and look, I want to say it was White Mountain. I'm sure someone will post it in the comments, but still an awesome, awesome knife. Came with a big old, you know, storage sheath, I would say. It's not for obviously carrying the knife or anything like that, but just a storage pouch, especially for the collectors. Nice patch on the front here. It's on Velcro. So if you want to take it off and put the patch on something else, you certainly could do so. And then the back, the logo stitched in, which is very nice. All right, so there's just the invoice. And the paperwork in there has some contact information towards the bottom there, if you guys are interested. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just a super, super cool knife. Like I said, totally overbuilt. If you happen to own a Gerber Remix and ever thought to yourself, wow, I wish this thing was like way bigger, way more durable, better steel, and more expensive because I don't like my cheap knives, this one would certainly fit the bill. These sold for 300 bucks. I want to say they're sold out everywhere at this point. But that's about the going rate for Dirk's knives. I've seen multiple knives. Again, I had a couple in the past that are in and around that $300 price tag. And again, being super limited, I don't really know what the going rate for something like this would be now, like in the secondary market. But it is kind of a niche knife. It's not something everyone's going to be into. But like I said, besides it being a collectible, if you actually wanted to carry and use this thing, you certainly can. Even though it's heavy, it's a chunk, but it is an extremely well-performing knife. That's the whole point here, is some of these you know, crazy collectible style knives can actually be extremely useful. But yeah, I always love the idea of the ring. I mean, if you were to use this, you know, very aggressively, or even if you had to use it in defense, God forbid, having your finger through a ring is very advantageous for the obvious reason that you have a hard time losing a grip on it. You know what I'm saying? Even if your hand's knocked around, you know, unless your finger breaks off, it's not going anywhere, you know. But anyway, that's it. That is the Midgards Messer Sleipnir, I'm going to go with. That sounds good. But again, you can insert your own pronunciation. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have an awesome day. And I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.